And there we go, hit and record. And then am I handing it over to you, Carly, or Dylan?
Carly
I
can
can.
start off
Yeah, I'll
and
go ahead and give the introduction and then Dylan will go through some things and then we'll do a demo. Just to be cognizant of time, do we have a specific time limit at all for doing this or? Yeah, our drop-ins run from noon to 1. So okay, so
yeah.
okay. All right. I don't think we'll take that much time, but so my name is Carly Sorelli. I'm the Senior Director of Institutional Research and Data Analytics. And then we have Dylan Kurlick on the phone. He is our data engineer. And the other person that has been working on this project is Amanda Mander. She is not on this call, but just wanted to recognize her. So what we wanted to do today is go through this project that we've been working on, this report that we've been working on for almost a year now. And we wanted to kind of demo it for you and then send you the link to the report so that you can do some testing and provide some feedback and things like that to us. So the report is a student persistence report. And what we're doing here is it's going to be part of the STARS suite of reports that some of you may already be using. But really what this is it's a report to be used by advisors or other departments so they can do outreach to students who may be showing some signs that they may not, persist to that this next term or just persist in general. And so, what you can do with this report is you can basically pull up a list of students, and there will be indicators in there that will let you know, whether or not this student might be showing some signs of risk of not persisting. So I'm going to turn it over to Dylan now, who is going to go through some of those indicators and the model or the process that we went through to be able to identify these students. So
Yeah.
Dylan, take it away.
Yep. And let me just um, okay, hopefully this is working. Did it actually are you guys seeing my screen?
We're seeing your screen, but we're seeing the note. Yep, we can see the Excel file now.
Okay, cool. All right, wonderful. Okay, so just to kind of go over briefly a couple details about the model. I'm not going to get into too many specifics. So we used a few different modeling methods and used the most explainable method that kind of performed the best here. It's called the logistical regression method. And we basically inputted a ton of different variables that we thought could be impactful on whether a student may persist or not. After going through all of them and trying to find the ones with the best results, these are the current findings, current variables used in the model to predict whether a student will or will not return. The ones highlighted in red are negative indicators, so anything that would have a negative contribution to a student persisting. And they're actually ordered from greatest impact to least impact. And the same thing goes with the positive contributors, um, being as full-time status being the most beneficial if you are full-time, and whether you went to an advising term, saw basically an advisor that term was the least impactful of those positive things. It's still a positive impact, just the least. Um, then in the third column here, we actually have items we've included in the reports so you can see them, but they're not included in the model. They didn't have statistical significance, but we thought they would still be, beneficial to kind of give people an idea of, more information on their background and things like that. Just a couple other notes about the model is this model isn't meant to be some hyper accurate model as far as, predicting every single person who won't persist because it's not realistic. What it's really trying to do is highlight the ones with some certainty. We have a good idea that they might not persist of, for example, around 15% of students who don't come back each semester. There's a lot of students who don't come back, and we might not have data on the reasons why that is. For example, if they went into the workforce or they got married and had kids, or um, a lot of other factors that might be influencing their decisions that we're never probably going to know. So we are trying to include more data and get more time information, such as Canvas data, Handshake and career services data, um, and supplement it as best we can. So this will kind of be a living and growing thing where we try to get more specific, and we probably build models for specific populations. But this is our initial one just to kind of get off the floor running here, and we still think it's useful for basically marking and getting an idea of ideas to or for students to reach out to, because right now I don't think there is anything that is advisors or anyone else are currently using for that process. Um, does anyone have any questions with this?
Hey, we have a quiet group. Um, all right, so I'm going to move on to sharing what the report looks like and how you run it. So just FYI, as Dylan mentioned, we are working on bringing additional data into this model and into the report, so that we can have better intel, I guess, in terms of more current data for students. So Dylan mentioned Canvas. We may be we're working on also bringing in data related to career services. So like if students are signing up for career fairs, or they've attended certain programs, or filled out a resume or whatever, do those things have any kind of correlation to a student persisting to the next term? And so so we're hoping that this report will continue to get smarter, and we'll continue to have more information for you all to reach out to students. All right, so I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right. So we are looking at the persistent report right now, or the prompt page for the report. So basically, you're going to log into Cognos, and this is what you're going to see. There's several different types of prompts that you can select here. So the first thing is you're going to want to select the term that to look at. So so right now we are looking at fall of 25. So so what you would want to do is pull in all those students that were here in the winter time, or for the winter 25 term. You're going to want to look at those students to see for these students, which students are likely to persist to that next fall term. So that's kind of how this works. It goes from one term to the next. So so you would pick that winter 25 term. You can go back and look at previous terms if you'd like. But for the type of work that you're going to be doing over the summer for outreach, it makes sense to pull in, the students that were here in the winter 25, and whether or not they're going to persist till fall. From here, you can select a specific school college. You can select multiples, or you can just, select all of them. Also, you're able to go in and select specific departments if you would like to do that. Also, you can select whether you want to just look at first-time undergraduate students and focus more on them than maybe the whole population. Also, you have the option to put in specific student banner IDs or access IDs if there are specific students that you want to look up. If you have a list of students that you want to look up, like let's say maybe you created some sort of a watch list or something like that, you can do that here too. You're allowed to put up to, I think it's up to 1,000 IDs in here if you want. So if it's in an Excel spreadsheet, you can copy those those IDs and paste them in here, and then, you know, select all of them so that it goes into the selections. Same thing with the access IDs. Also, you can put in an advisor ID down here. So then the students that are associated with that advisor will populate the report. Also, if you want to just hone in on those potential outreach candidates, you can select, you know, you can select yes for that to just look at those students who may need some assistance. So I'm going to keep this pretty open. I'm, you know, again, selecting that winter 25 term. I've selected all colleges, and I'm just going to go ahead and click finish, and it runs pretty quickly. So this report, what you'll see is there's a lot of green and gold in here. So what is highlighted or what is included in the green, these are those data elements that Dylan kind of mentioned before, where they weren't necessarily things that had statistical significance. It's just basically information about the student. So, you know, we're including things like, of course, name and their, you know, access IDs, the student level, you know, what college, what department they're in, you know, whether they have any kind of DFW counts. And then also, you know, we're including in here whether they've actually applied for graduation, if they've already registered for fall 25, or if they're an outreach candidate. Everything that's in gold are the data elements that do have statistical significance. So these are the things that could that kind of identify whether a student may be at risk, so may require some outreach here. And so I encourage you to look at those items in gold as kind of like a group in some ways, because there may be some things that you look at and you think, well, the student, you know, has a pretty high GPA, but they're still flagged as maybe an outreach candidate. You know, why is that the case? And so if you kind of look at, you know, at all of these and get that full picture, it may be multiple data elements that are contributing to that student's potentially not returning. So a couple business rules that we did implement for this is that if someone has already applied for graduation, we are automatically turning that outreach candidate identifier to a no, because what we're trying to do here is, I mean, we don't want to waste your time, right? So if somebody has already applied for graduation, odds are that they probably are going to persist. Same thing with if they've already registered for the next term, we are not flagging them as an outreach candidate because, again, they've already registered. So looks like they're, you know, probably going to persist to that next term. So the outreach candidate column here all the way at the end is where you're going to look for students who, you know, have yeses or nos. It's funny because usually like we have a few yeses up there. So here's a yes down here. So this student here has been flagged as a potential outreach candidate. So again, you want to kind of look at this holistically. So you can see that they have 2 registration holds on their account. So that is something that is a contributing factor. Also, their most recent cumulative GPA is 0.46. So that's pretty low. I do want to mention for the cum GPA, we are looking at for students that do not have a college GPA yet. So like our first time students, we are using their high school GPA. And then after that, we're using their college GPA. So other things that we can look at too is their, you know, they don't have an active plan, and that's something that is an indicator. Let's see, their credits earned, you know, they'll only have 3 credits earned. So there's a lot of things going on here that, you know, would present for the student to possibly not persist. You can export this out to Excel. Up here in the upper left corner, there's a little kind of like a play button here. And if you click on the drop down, you can export it to Excel. So you click that on there and it'll turn out an Excel file for you, so that you can go in and do some filtering or sorting or whatever it is that you need to do for your work with reaching out to the students. Dylan, am I forgetting anything here?
I think you pretty much covered everything.
Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think you went over the different variables and
Mhm.
covered the thing where basically if they're registered or applied for graduation that we don't. Yeah, I think we covered most things.
Yep.
Does anyone have any questions regarding of like any information used or um, anything at all?
Sarah?
Yeah, I was just curious, when is it refreshed? So if the student comes into an advising session and we address their whole and they get registered and they applied for a degree, right? Does that mean tomorrow, next week, or the end of the semester, would that be reflected in any of these reports?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in general, pretty much basically all of the reports in Cognos and even our dashboards are refreshed. The data gets refreshed every night. So it starts like at midnight. So we're usually about a day behind. So it is not instantaneous. So if you're in a session and the student says, you know what, sign me up now, I'm registering now, it's not going to reflect in this report until the next day.
Yeah.
Sure, but that's
That
still a
being
pretty
said,
quick turnaround, though.
Yeah,
It's
it is
not like
pretty
the end of
quick.
the
And
semester.
right. And if you find that there is a longer delay or there's something going on, definitely let us know. Fun?
Yeah, I had a question about the application for graduation. Is a yes or no? Does that mean like if student applied for graduation ever, or is it like this semester that you're looking at? Because we have students who apply, are denied, and then have a problem persisting. And so can you maybe, instead of the YN, if they're a Y, could you at least include the semester that they applied for graduation so we know it's a current person or not?
so I can
It does,
look actually.
well, it does
Okay.
say here, oh, sorry, for graduation. Yeah. Yeah, we can probably pull a field into there to indicate which semester they have applied, but I believe it is restricted to that fall term that they're applying for graduation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It's probably filtered. Yeah, I'd have to look at the code to be certain, but
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah. But like we can put something in here, like what we did for registered, like we have in there registered for fall 25. So that that's the term they registered for. So we probably could do something for the for the graduation as well. Any other questions?
Hi. Um, Question about for outreach. Is there a way either on this report or in the students interface in STARS, and forgive me because I'm not actively working with STARS as an advisor, but to know if somebody else has done some outreach on this particular student. So for example, if we're looking from first year initiatives and we're tracking first year students and say, oh, you know what, here's a group we might be reaching out to. It would be helpful to know, have advisors already reached out? Not that we wouldn't, but just so there's some coordination or awareness on the part of, or the same thing, if we've reached out for somebody, we may be referring them. Does that live anywhere? Either on this report or just in comments and stars? Is there a mechanism for that?
It doesn't live in this report, and that is going to be something like as we're rolling this out, like we're going to need to to kind of think through. And that just actually that brought up an idea I have for an additional field. But so when an advisor reaches out, they have notes and things that they put into stars, right? But not
Yes.
everybody is going to have access to that. So what I'm thinking might help is if we included the advisor name and access ID in this report, so that if it's somebody other than the advisor that needs to reach out, they can contact the advisor first and find out, have you already reached out to this person? Because yeah, we don't want to we don't want
to mandate
somebody either, like, well, wow, like 4 people have called me and I must really
Exactly.
yeah, right. So
Yeah.
so that's something that we can add to this report to put in the advisors. We can't put in whether or not, like, we can't, there's not really a way right now indicate whether a student has been, the outreach has happened specifically for this kind of thing, right? But yeah, I think the best thing to do would be if you wanted to reach out to a student, maybe contact the advisor first. And if we have that information in here, that'll make it easier. So.
Yeah, I think in an ideal world, there might be a thing with even integration with stars or something that, as if we went further down the line and we developed this more, the idea is that there would be some kind of note on the student's profile or something that would indicate or reach out, like some history or tracking. But I think that would probably be in the future until we could, figure out a solution for that.
Well, I think the
Funny?
thing that makes
Oh,
that
go.
difficult too, though, is comments that, when advisors put in comments or notes about a discussion that they've had with the student, that really should kind of be confidential. So we really have to think about how we would work through that. So
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah, fun.
Yeah, the other, I can't see the left-hand side of the spreadsheet, but the credits column is important, but I'm wondering if we should also see the degree works percentage for requirements, because sometimes like that's kind of
Yeah,
more
we can bring
aligned.
that in.
Yeah, because that'll show us a lot, I think. If they're a little bit further along, they're more likely to persist. If they're not, they might not be.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that's actually a good idea for a variable when we didn't. I'm almost positive we didn't try. So no, yeah, thank you for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, we do bring that in for other stars reports, so it should be fairly easy for us to bring that into this one. So that's 2 fields. So that's the percent complete from degree works, and then the advisor information to bring in here. Okay. Sarah?
I think I heard you say undergrad only, right?
Yes,
Yep.
for right now, but we are, the plan is to have this for grad as well. But we are kind of doing this in baby
Sure.
steps.
Sure.
And as you all know, typically when we're dealing with grad data, it's always a little bit more complicated than other grad. Also,
I had to ask.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's fine. Also, the model will be, what the indicators for grad students most likely will be well, maybe not completely different, but will be different than they are for undergrad. So these, these data elements here, these contributors that Dylan talked through for grad students would probably look different than they do for the undergrad. So we kind of have to, most likely it would be 2 separate reports. And eventually, like what we would like to do with this is start looking at, certain populations where maybe we hone in a little bit more on those first year students. Again, because those contributors for them not persisting may be different for, a new freshman than for a junior or something. So, we are going to continue to enhance this and look at different scenarios. But this is kind of our first pilot, and that's why we need you to help us and let us know how valid you think all of this is, how helpful it is to you. Has it worked with your outreach? So we really need to get some good feedback from all of you so that we can make this an even better product. So
Well, we still have plenty of undergrads too, so
yeah.
So thank you. This is awesome.
Any other questions? Okay. So what I'm going to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say just one other thing I just wanted to add, just in case anyone sees it. If are variables in the future, they may change. So the indicators that are currently used, as currently said, number one, if we update the model or start building out new models, if just don't be surprised if you do see the variables currently highlighted in gold, those very well, may change. So just so people aren't surprised by that.
Yep. Tom?
Would it be possible just real quickly to backtrack a few steps, just and go over again just how to get to the report?
Well, what will happen is I'm going to actually, after this meeting, I'm going to send you all a link to the report. And you can do some testing. Where it will live is eventually is it's going to actually live in the STARS portal. So there's a whole suite of reports for STARS, so it's going to be there. But so Tom, yeah, for this first kind of like testing phase, I will send you a link that you can get into, and it is in Cognos Analytics. So if you try the link and for whatever reason you can't get in there or you don't have access, that's a whole other conversation. So if you are not able to open the report or get to the report, please email me, and then we can take a look at your security and find out if there's something going on, like why you're not able to access it. But the long-term plan is it's going to be part of the STARS 2.0 suite of reports.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Right, I'm going to stop sharing. So I guess just I'd love to get just some high level feedback from you all, just from what you've seen so far. Do you feel like this is something that is going to be helpful to you? You know, any just initial thoughts on this?
Again, from a non-advisor perspective,
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving it. I'm, as some of you know, I'm new to the Director of College Transition Initiatives role. And so this is a couple of my team members already on here, Daniel and Amy. This is right where our conversations have been going, look at things that we're trying to connect. So very excited for this. I'm glad to see, as you're looking, some of the things that you mentioned, career services touch points, because a lot of our work is trying to help navigate students to those pieces, because we're saying that that's those early interventions, and in terms of help seeking behavior and navigation is what we're focusing our work on. We're trying to set up assessment for that. This is a great way to start gathering that data, and also on the non-academic co-curricular activities. So those engagement, the things that we're capturing now in the Engage platform for participation and engagement and student activities, student organizations, trying to pull the data in to also include that in our success and persistence data. So yes, high level excited, want to actually schedule some additional side meetings for what we're doing on this as well.
Okay, that's great. That's good feedback. Yeah, so it will be interesting when we start bringing in, you know, I mean, that it's one thing that, you know, we're using banner data, which I think that this report is still valuable. However, you know, the drawback is that some of these things have already happened, right? Like a student has already failed a class, or they've already, you know, I don't know, done something. And so what we're trying to move towards is the more proactive type of analytics, but it requires us, you know, bringing in data from other places. Like Canvas is a huge one, but you know, that's going to take a little bit of time because Canvas data in general is huge. There's so much there. And then, you know, of course, the career services information. But you know, I suspect that when we start bringing that additional data in, that all of those data elements that we highlighted as contributors are really going to change, you know, once we start bringing that other information in. And I think, you know, I think Dylan can speak to this a little bit more, but when you look at this, the way we've done it is the number of students that are kind of flagged as outreach. It's a manageable group. You're not getting like thousands of, you know, like 10,000 students to outreach. So it's a manageable group where you can do that outreach. So Dylan, do you want to just talk a little bit about that, like the percent of students that are, you know, we're getting?
Sure. So yeah, so the one of the things that actually makes this a hard problem to solve in a way is that it's only around 15% of students that don't actually persist per semester. So in modeling, again, I won't get into too many specifics, but that makes it harder to predict, because if you always predict essentially someone returns, well, you're an 85% accurate model, and long story short. So realistically, what we end up doing is we over predict we under predict basically the people who aren't coming. But what that ends up being is we're pretty certain that this small percentage that's left over, that 15%, there's a good chance that they aren't going to actually persist. So again, it's not about this being where we're going to always know about every single person who doesn't come back. It's okay, we have a pretty decent idea with the data that we have that these people won't. And it's the things that you may not like when you look at a student and you see, okay, well, they have a 3.0 GPA and they have, some general other stuff, but it's when you combine them, oh, they sent out a transcript. Oh, they're all completely on online classes. These are all the factors combined that actually might contribute to them not showing. So it's not always a super apparent when you're looking at them from a bird's eye view of just a couple metrics. It's kind of, obviously there's some math involved there. Susan, I saw you had a question as well.
Yeah, I have two questions. I'm sorry if I missed this, but when you're clicking the semester, is it students that are registered for that semester that we're pulling?
Yeah, so like I said, what you would want to do is, so we just finished up the winter 25 semester, and so what you're going to want to do is select the winter semester for 25 to see who is likely to persist to fall 25. So you're always going to look at that kind of, and we're not using spring and summer in here. We're just using fall winter terms. So yeah, if you want to see who's likely to persist for fall 25, you're going to want to select winter. Once you're in the fall 25 term and you want to see who's going to persist to winter 26, you're going to select the fall 25. So
okay, I guess my question is leading to like if I wanted to see past data and I pulled fall 24 students, is it going to show just the students that were registered fall 24, or is it also going to show what their persistence data was after the fall of 24? Is it going to show their current persistence data?
It's going to show the persistence as of that period.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
My second question is, so I work with adult learners. It's really hard to get a group of humans listed because they all have different registered advisors and all that good stuff. Is it possible for me to pull all students so then I can filter by their age? So if I just, click, through my notepad, if I just clicked everything and just clicked all the students, would it pull all the students for me?
Yeah, so when
Okay.
I ran that report, basically what you're going to do is you're just going to select your term, and then you're not going to select a specific school or college. And what that will do is it's going to pull all the undergrad students. And then there is a column in this report for age. So you're able to fill, because age actually is one of the contributors. And so you would export this out to Excel and then filter out for whatever ages that you wanted to look at.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This is great, by the way. This whole thing is awesome.
Great. Fun?
Yeah, I totally agree. Another thing about when we're entering information in the filters, you mentioned we can just submit like a list of access IDs or whatnot. Is there a separator indicator we have to include, or we just copy and paste the access IDs in there?
If you just have like an Excel sheet that has a column of access IDs, you can copy those and paste it in there. You don't need to have like a comma or anything like that in there.
Yep.
You also have to, it is case sensitive. So like you don't want to use access IDs that are like in all caps or something, like that. Banner IDs, I think would just in general, you always have to be careful of those leading zeros not falling off. So yeah.
Okay.
And I think Ricardo had something in the comments here. Let's see the chat.
I was just asking you if housing, campus housing versus off campus is one of the data points you capture.
That's actually,
Dylan, did we bring that in? I can't remember.
that's what I'm trying to remember. I know it's not currently in the model. I'm trying to remember whether or not I know we did nationality. We checked a lot of things about like residency of like distance and other things. I don't know if we actually did on campus versus off campus. I'll have to refer to the code that selected the variables in the first place, but I know they're not currently included. So if we haven't looked at them, it may be something we want to look at actually. Along with I actually like the idea with that degree completion as well within, because I think that's a different metric that would be potentially useful.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to pull in whether they're living in on-campus housing or not, because I know there's a lot of literature and claims that students that live on campus tend to persist or tend to do better. So it would be interesting for us to put that in the model and see what that does if it ends up being a positive contributor or not. So that'll be a takeaway for us to look into.
And in terms of predictive, even with housing, some early indicators, it can also be tied into timely payments, things like that, things that housing sees before there's actually somebody stopping out or leaving. Sometimes if it's
Yeah.
financial related, there's also
So
this as well.
we do have balance in there, and that actually is a negative indicator. Basically, having a balance, and the larger one, obviously, the greater the negative impact of them not persisting. The one thing that it is a little bit of a limitation, we kind of come across this with all data, is some data we just don't have access to. So it's like, yeah, we can probably get housing data. I know we've worked with actually getting in some housing data. It's a matter of, could we get, for example, whether they had a late payment associated with housing and how accessible that is. That's a lot of times, you can predict a lot. It's just a lot of times the limitation is
Capturing,
the
yeah.
data existing, or can we get it?
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot of the housing data is pretty confidential. So we don't always get everything that, it
I know
kind
it's
of lives
Corvius
in
too, so
housing,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. I know we do get the financial information, and we do get information about whether the students are in housing or not, but there's a lot of other data elements that are not flowing into just a lot of it is mainly because of confidentiality. So
Yeah, just the high level of housing or not, campus or not would be helpful, but yeah,
Yeah.
the other stuff is understandable.
yeah.
I think I also have a question about athletes, because I've been wanting more reports from our internal data person about including if they're athletes or not, because I feel like there's some things outside of our control. If athletes are leaving because they want to play somewhere else, they're entering the transfer portal. We're seeing a lot more transfers with athletes. And I feel like some of this outreach to athletes is not helpful because we sometimes have no control over it. So just an indicator if they're an athlete or not, and I don't know how you'd pull it. I think there's a
Well,
cohort or possibly a tag somewhere in there.
yeah, I know there
Yeah.
isn't Slate, if nothing else. Actually, I could have sworn we used that as one of the. We went through a lot of different variables for
Okay.
this, so it's been a while, so I don't remember every single one. I thought actually we included that. it- uh, Again, whether we could include it in the report, we probably can. I'll have to talk to Amanda on our team.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I don't remember if it's not included, technically it wouldn't be statistically significant. But that also can be sometimes is you have a very small population size, and therefore it's very hard to say with any degree of certainty a prediction. It's kind of sometimes a limiting factor in these types of things.
Yeah, I feel like so I advise sport management, exercise science. We have a lot of athletes in those two majors, and I feel like the incoming students sometimes that's a greater proportion for us in our college as opposed to possibly other majors across campus. So for us, it
Yeah.
might be more significant of a number than other majors. I don't want to hypothesize, but that's just my guess.
Oh, yeah, that would probably make sense. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea on the percentage of population. I just figured it
Mhm.
might be fairly low sometimes.
But it is something we can look to just add to the report as an additional column to just a yes, no kind of thing for athletes. That way, when you run the report, you can again export it out to Excel, and then you can filter specifically on that
Yeah.
column and look at those students.
Yeah, we would triage our efforts. We
Yeah.
would, reach out to students who we might have a better shot at getting back. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like Dylan said, if there's not really much statistical significance in terms of, if they're a student athlete and their persistence, you would still at least be able to see these other indicators, and are any of them showing up as a kind of a red flag for them? Like, did they request a transcript for a transcript, or which is a good indicator they're probably going to transfer out, or do they have an active plan or not? So so I think it would be helpful for you to be able to filter those students out, and then you can look at those specific indicators.
Yeah, thanks.
Any
Anything
more
else?
questions?
Okay. Well, this has been a good discussion. Thank you so much for having us. So I think Who am I going to send this to?
Do you want it to go on the ATA listserv or just to the people who are here?
Yeah, but I don't think, so in the invite that I